Bond. James Bond.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Did we just become best friends?
Yup! Sublime!
What keep using that word? I don't think it means what you think it means.
Tear me apart, Lisa!
But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Hi, friends, and welcome to another episode of You Haven't Seen That, a movie discussion podcast where we introduce our friend Ben to movies he should have seen a long time ago. I'm your host, Amanda.
I'm Geoff.
And I'm Ben.
And today we are discussing Arrival. Stick around until the end. We'll be doing our top 4 giant things that we would be terrified to see come out of the sky.
Just what you've always wanted to hear.
Wanted to make it a little bit lighter at the end.
We're going to pair this serious movie with a nice comical top 4.
Feels appropriate. We've been talking about ideas that were pretty serious and eventually got to the point where we're like, you know what, let's have a laugh. Arrival. Taking place after alien crafts land around the world, an expert linguist is recruited by the military to determine whether they come in peace or are a threat. Released in November of 2016, the number 1 song in the country, Closer by the Chainsmokers, featuring Halsey.
It's a good song.
Bob. Mm-hmm. TV show premieres at this time, The Crown on Netflix and The Grand Tour on Prime Video. Shout out to the Top Gear guys. And pop culture news, Gwen Stefani and Gavin Rossdale get divorced to make room for Gwen Stefani marrying Blake Shelton.
Womp womp.
And those are the most consequential things from November 2016.
Nothing else happened. Nothing else of note.
Yes. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, this movie stars Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, Forrest Whitaker, and Michael Stuhlbarg. This is our second Jeremy Renner movie in a row.
Friend of the pod.
Can't get enough. It's Ren's Day every day. With a $47 million budget, this movie grossed $203 million at the global box office. It opened number 3 at the US box office the weekend it came out, where it fell behind movies such as Doctor Strange, I believe in its second weekend. And then the very next weekend was Fantastic Beasts and then Moana. So it was one of those where it was around for a while in theaters, but never quite made it to the top. This movie was incredibly well received by critics, 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, 81 on Metacritic. And it was lauded at the Academy Awards. It was nominated for 8 awards and won 1 of them. It won for sound editing, and it lost in picture, director, adapted screenplay, sound mixing, production design, cinematography, and film editing. You'll notice I did not say lead actress in that list, which is a crime, but we'll get to that. And it lost most of those to La La Land, Moonlight, or Hacksaw Ridge. So pretty loaded year. This was the infamous La La Land Moonlight year.
My fave Oscars.
Oh. It also got a number of Teen Choice Award nominations as well, exclusively in the sci-fi category, where it lost Best Sci-Fi Film to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It lost Best Sci-Fi Actor to Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And it lost Best Sci-Fi Actress to Zoe Saldana in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I can't believe it even got nominated for the Teen Choice Award.
This doesn't quite seem like a Teen Choice Award.
Well, here's the thing. The category was very specific to sci-fi. So
yeah, but like, did teens even watch it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing there was at least enough. Maybe, I don't know. I can't imagine there were that many sci-fi productions in 2016 that could warrant that, but I don't know.
Yes. Cool. Thank you. So let's start off with our histories. Ben, let's hear yours.
I definitely watched this Oscars because my fave. I still love watching that clip, as I mentioned before. And I had watched La La Land before the Oscars, so I was a little bit, it was like a rare time where I'd actually seen one of the movies prior to the last couple of years. And I don't really have any memory of this, though, probably because it's not my, like, wouldn't have been the type of thing to interest me. So, you know, I feel like I remember the title. I actually thought it starred Hilary Swank for some reason. I think it's because she's in the Netflix show Away, which is another sci-fi thing. So maybe I was confusing those two. I don't really have any real memory of this or any real history with it.
All right. What about you, Geoff?
This was my third viewing of Arrival. I missed it in theaters. Sad. This was before I was going to the theaters on a regular basis. Didn't know
you went all over this. I know Geoff of 2026.
If this was back in the day, like I missed everything. I missed La La Land in theaters. I missed Moonlight in theaters. I missed the year after this was like Dunkirk and Get Out and stuff. And I missed those. This was before I decided to get, this movie, the before times, exactly. But this was my third time watching it. The first time I watched it, I believe, was pre-COVID. And then the second time I watched it was actually in preparation for Dune Part 2 from a couple of years back. So it was one of those where I was getting ready and going through all of Denis Villeneuve's movies. So this was my third viewing, and I was excited to check it out again.
Yeah. I feel like this was probably a year or two before we got Movie Pass.
Movie Pass.
Yeah, so it was probably right on the edge there of when we probably would have gone to see it. I don't really have any recollection of this movie being released. Like Geoff said, we weren't going to the movies regularly at this point. So, and even if I had seen a trailer for it, I don't think I probably would have gone. Other than that, I didn't really know anything about this movie before I watched it. I was like, Geoff, this is like a space movie, right? Like I definitely thought this movie took place in space.
With Hilary Swank?
No, not with Hilary Swank.
No, I'm kidding. That was me.
And he was like, well, there's aliens, but it's on Earth. And I was like, really? I think the reason I thought it was in space is because I've seen that still of Amy Adams in the suit. And so I assumed that they were in space. So that's pretty much all I knew about it. Definitely didn't know Jeremy Renner was in it.
Yeah, it was one of those where we were planning out the schedules, and I wanted to pick this movie because, as you probably know, as you're listening to this, Disclosure Day came out this past weekend, which is a movie about aliens. Denis Villeneuve has a movie hitting theaters later this year, so it was my turn to pick the movie, so I went with this one, not remembering and not putting two together. I was like, oh, we're getting Jeremy Renner 2 weeks in a row. So
we should make a game for our listeners and ask them to comment on each episode who they think picked the movie.
I like that.
This one's quite obvious.
Is it? No. All right, cool. Geoff, let's hear your score.
So I'm thankful you're starting with me. So I'm very nervous to hear what you both thought, because for me with this movie, this is a movie that I have liked more and more as I've thought about it more and watched it more. First time I saw it, I was like, it was good. Well crafted. Couldn't quite piece everything together. Second time, I was like, everything just clicked, whatever. And then even then this time, it was even amplified a little bit more in the messages and everything I understood from it and what ultimately it was kind of about. And it's I think, a pretty beautiful movie about how to communicate properly, being a parent, just understanding your neighbors and getting better in touch with the world. I think it's a beautiful story. It deeply moves me every time I see it. I took more notes during this movie than I have with maybe any other movie we've done for this podcast. I love this movie so much. I'm going to go with a 4.75.
Okay. And what about you, Ben?
Oh no.
Ben just gave a face, y'all.
Geoff, I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay. I'm going to keep trying. This is
a big no for me, dog. And unlike something like Saving Private Ryan, where I was like, okay, not my type of movie, not something I want to really watch, but I appreciate the artistry and I appreciate what this movie is and I understand why people love it. I didn't get this one. Like I looked up and I was like, dang, this was nominated for a lot of Oscars. I was like, what the heck? I didn't like it. I have a lot of complaints about it on an artistic level and also on an enjoyment level. I I know I'm in the minority because I was reading all these, like I was reading the Wikipedia entry and looking at some of the reviews and stuff, and I was like, okay, well, this is like a Matrix situation again, where all the, I'm gonna seem like way out of touch here.
No, it's all good.
Really didn't enjoy this. I'm giving it a 1.25.
Wow.
All right.
That's like really down there.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I feel bad.
Don't
I wanted to like it.
So
but
funny.
I have to be true to myself.
No, that's fair.
I have to speak my truth.
You gotta speak your truth.
The other day, Geoff was like, I really want to know if Ben liked it. And I was like, I feel like there's a chance he actually did kind of like it. Nope, just kidding.
Absolutely not. It's okay.
All right. Well, I will round us out. This movie, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I'm still trying to fully understand what I watched, but it's a very beautiful movie. It's very well done. So I'm giving this a 4.25.
All right. So it beat the average of a 3, so I won't be able to select it at our end of season draft. That's okay.
That would have been wild if it was in our bottom.
That would have required also like Amanda bringing it down.
Yes, exactly.
That requires like at least 2 of the 3 of us being down on it.
Yeah, that's true.
For sure.
That's true. All right, Ben, let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah,
okay.
No, it's not because like we're trying to obviously attack you. I'm just more curious.
I feel like maybe it's good to start with my thoughts and then let you rebut them and give your thoughts, because I feel like, okay, I'm going to kind of put this into a couple buckets here.
Yeah.
And the first 2 I'm going to just briefly go through. One is, and this is the personal side of it. This is where I'm like, this is my own Saving Private Ryan side of it, of the enjoyment factor. I can't handle kids who are sick anymore in movies.
Oh, that's fair.
I can't do it. When it used to be dogs, still is dogs, but now it's also been kids. Now that I'm a parent, I can't do it anymore. And so when they were like showing scenes of the little kid at the beginning, I was like, oh no, there's no way that this is going to end fine. So that's my personal thing. There have been plenty of movies I would rate higher if that was my only complaint about it.
That's fair.
Second one, and this may be a little bit of a controversial opinion, I don't love Amy Adams or Forest Whitaker in pretty much anything I've ever seen them in. And I know that's kind of, and maybe I haven't seen enough of them, but I've never quite vibed with either one of them. I think Forest Whitaker, everything comes across very wooden and kind of, straight faced, kind of, I don't know, like everything monotony, everything kind of comes across the same way for me. And Amy Adams, for some reason, I've just never connected with her as an actress. Now, granted, I've not seen some of their major movies that probably got them to where they are, but that, I don't know. Okay, my biggest issues though, and this is I think where, because those are really just like, my personal
gripes,
thoughts.
if you will.
Personal gripes, which I love to dabble in.
It's all good.
No shortage of personal gripes from Ben.
Okay. So I will say, to this film's credit, I've spent a lot of time thinking about it in the last 48 hours since I watched it, because I felt like I wanted to put into words how I felt about it and why I didn't like it. And I feel like I'm still going to struggle with it, because I feel like I still am struggling with fully understanding it. And it's not that I didn't get it, it's just that I not fully understand. It wasn't that I didn't fully understand the plot. It was that I didn't fully I guess I didn't fully grasp the themes they were trying to go for. So here's what I'm going to say. So obviously, spoilers for people who are listening, you find out towards the end of the movie that what seemed like flashbacks are in fact flash forwards, right?
Yes.
So that is like the twist, so to speak, of the movie. I feel like when you think of it that way, and maybe Geoff, you can probably speak to this having seen it now 3 times. I feel like when you realize that is the twist and the plot, I feel like a lot of it falls apart. I feel like if you really put a magnifying glass to it, it doesn't quite work with how the characters have behaved, especially Amy Adams, it doesn't quite work with how, like, the way the flashbacks were being used don't really, to me, make sense as flash forwards for how they're impacting Amy Adams in the present timeline. And I know that's kind of the point because I did some reading on it. I know that some of the point is like the aliens don't think of time the way we do. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's kind of what I think they were getting at. But to me, it felt almost cheap in the sense of like, here's this twist and you've been thinking about it all wrong. And then you almost like box yourself into thinking about trying to think it's more artistic than it is. And to me, it kind of falls apart under scrutiny, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And then on top of that, I also feel like it does the thing that prestige TV does sometimes, which is like the drip, drip, drip of information where they don't tell you everything, you know, and then you have to like, and not so much in like a way like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with Dr. Alashimi in the pit, you know, like clearly they're going to get to, it's more of like the withholding major plot points so that what you are understanding of the film and what you think you are watching is actually not what you are watching, which is different than just withholding details of a character. Every TV show does that, where, you know, every kind of drama does that, where they, you know, they don't give you certain reveals because they want it to come later for one reason or another. But to me, there's certain times that this happens, and there's definitely a lot of TV shows that have happened. I think I've been like red pilled by this over the year. Oh, did I just make a Matrix reference?
You did. You most certainly did.
I feel like I've been red pilled by this over the years of lots of prestige TV, where it's started to annoy me that you can't just be honest with an audience. And so, that's how I felt about this movie. I was like, it wasn't so much like, oh, there's a twist and a turn. Okay, something like Parasite, which I loved, where you're watching the movie, you're going along, and then you're like, oh, shoot, this is not that movie. Like, this is a different movie now. But I don't feel like they were withholding. I don't think they were like hiding that from us. They were just like, here's a hard right turn and we're going to do something totally different now. And I appreciated that. This felt to me like they were trying the whole way to make you think it was one movie. And then at the end, they were like, surprise, it's actually this movie. And that's what kind of bothers me about this film. I don't know how well I explained all that, but I've been thinking a lot about how to talk through it. And I'm going to be quiet and let you have some time, Geoff.
No, that's all good. Amanda, do you want to talk about that? Because I have some thoughts, or do you want me to?
No, you go first.
So I hear exactly where you're coming from. I kind of noted here 3 things that you brought up. The character choices don't make sense when you kind of figure out that they're flash forwards, that the movie sort of falls apart when you realize the twist, and then the whole withholding of information and purposely misleading the audience. So I understand where you're coming from with the character choices. It definitely seems a little weird, especially, you know, with the beginning of the movie. And I kind of clicked in my brain this time when I watched it, is like, Louise, just as a character, she hasn't been given any sort of reason to feel like joy or excitement or emotion or anything like that. I noted one of my notes very early on in the movie, because she's like walking, like the first time you see her, like in the quote unquote present, is like her going into the building, like as the aliens are landing and everyone's watching TV, and she's just focused on her job. And you can kind of hear frustrations as she's talking with her mom a little bit later on in that scene. My interpretation of that is that she's just a character who's like, she doesn't really have anything. She's single. She doesn't have anything going for her. At least that's the way it's kind of being framed. So she doesn't really have much pep or joy or anything like that necessarily. So I think regardless of whether or not she had a kid at this point or not, I think she would still be the same way. Obviously, in that case, she feels sad and depressed and completely cut off from the world. In this case, I believe it is a character choice, just that she doesn't want any personal relationships. The few personal relationships that she has she doesn't love them. It's kind of annoying her to an extent. That's at least the way I interpreted that part. In terms of the twist, I think my understanding with like how the memories were being, or the sort of flash forwards and those sort of thoughts were being used, were pretty effective, at least in my opinion, where it's like when she's starting to pick up on the language more and she's starting to understand things more with the aliens and communicating with them, that's when it's starting to unlock in her brain. And why those specific moments were being called, I'm not sure. My guess is that it's maybe a case where she she says a quote at the beginning where it's like, memory is a strange thing. She remembers the beginning and the end, but she remembers moments in the middle. So it's almost like that too, where it's like they're just randomly kind of popping up as she's learning the language, and then it'll start to click with her once things fully form at the end of the movie and she kind of gets the language as a whole. I think the journey to her discovering it unlocked other aspects of the movie for me, such as the importance of communication, her relationship with, oh goodness gracious, Ian, is her relationship with Ian, the whole EQ versus IQ, science versus language, coming at things from a social perspective and unlocking that sort of aspect for her instead of the competitive aspect, which is a lot of the other nations are coming to. Understanding those elements of the movie further got unlocked for me in future viewings, even though I knew where the twist was going. It was all about kind of the journey at that point, almost like the last line in the movie. If you could see your life from start to finish, would you change things? If you could see the movie from start to finish, would you change things? And I don't think so. I think the journey of how we got there was compelling enough because it relayed, especially in this day and age, in our disjointed communication day and age, it reminded me of a number of important things about the importance of specific styles of communication, balancing out the emotional with the, math-based, science-based thinking, etc. And then the third thing about the withholding information or the feeling of being misled in terms of maybe the type of movie and the bomb it's going to drop at the end or what have you. I think that's valid. I don't really have like a counter argument to that per se. I just think it worked for me in terms of the withholding because I was bought into the movie. So I'm like, okay, I'm just along for the ride at this point.
That's fair.
So,
and I think you are more in general. So anyone is more forgiving when they're enjoying the movie. I'm certainly more forgiving of that kind of stuff when I'm enjoying it.
Oh, absolutely.
And then there was the whole like sci-fi boring topic to me on top of it all too.
That's fair. 100%. No, I totally get where you're coming from. No, I think your points are very valid. And I think when you don't connect with something like this, where you have those factors, I didn't even take into account the child aspect at the beginning when selecting this movie. So I do apologize.
No, you don't. I'm not like, you don't need to like worry about triggering me. I'm just saying that like,
no.
I'm just saying like those scenes are just something that's like, after becoming a parent, I can't watch it. I don't think they really bothered me in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason they just like really hit me. Even in something I love.
Mm-hmm. It's the beauty of getting older and having these things impact your life is that you're set in you kind of become set in what you like and what you don't like. And that you're really going to gravitate towards what you like and appreciate the things that you like. And I'm just like that there with you. My interests are coming stronger and stronger in specific things by the day. So right. I totally get where you're coming from.
Hence why I refuse to watch Hamnet.
It's fair. That one's justified.
Yeah, but I also feel like, well, I assume this hit you, Ben, because it hit me and I don't even have children, where at the end, I don't remember specifically what she said, but basically like even knowing that she's going to like have her baby and lose it eventually, she still would like go through the journey regardless because, it's so precious and everything. So like, I'm like, that hit me for sure. And I'm like, I don't even have kids. So I'm like, I can see parents being like, whoa.
I forgot what it felt to be held by you. And as she's looking forward, the first time she embraces Ian IRL, she starts to flash forward and she thinks to the line where they talk about having their baby. And he's like, you want to make a baby? And she says, and that's when she commits to saying yes or yeah in the future. And she grasps and holds Ian even harder than she had at any point during the movie. So yeah, it is about kind of she just wants to be there for the ride. And I know when that moment occurred to me, I was like, oh yeah, I don't know what I would do. Would I change my future? Like, would I want to know? Like, so many things flashed in my mind. So it definitely hits for sure.
So I want to address your critiques, Ben.
Yes,
just a few of them,
do.
just my own thought. I don't have a lot to add on to what Geoff said.
Sorry, I hogged the mic there, babe.
No, you're good. But in terms of like the dripping of information, that personally did not bother me because I feel like we were really just getting what Amy Adams knew at like because she didn't even know, and obviously this was all like Geoff said, coming to her as she learned this language and got more intense as she got more involved with the heptapods. So that personally didn't bother me. And then I'm still trying to figure out, like I said at the beginning, like how I feel about the ending and having it be a different kind of movie. All of a sudden, again, I think I'm less critical of it because, like Geoff, I enjoyed it, but I do kind of have that like I don't know, like do I feel a little bit deceived? I don't know. So like I'm still wrestling with that. But yeah, sorry, I had a train of thought there.
To that kind of along that, so and I'm gonna just question this a little bit because so you mentioned, Geoff, like your take on her at the beginning, wherein it appears that she is kind of acting the way she is because she's grieving the loss of her daughter. That's kind of what the movie leads you to believe.
Right.
And you said like knowing that was actually before she lost her daughter, before she even had a daughter, you just kind of took it to mean this is kind of who she is. She's kind of withdrawn.
That's my thought.
Yeah. Okay, but does that jive with the scenes with her daughter? That in theory came after, not before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like when she's with her daughter, she's a different person.
Hey, having a child does that. My guess again.
No, I mean that's fine, but like that's fine. But I don't think it like it doesn't. I don't know. Like if she's that depressed of a person, is she really gonna be that alive with a child? You can definitely believe it the other way. Oh, she was really alive with a child, and then she's depressed when the child has died. But I don't know that I buy it in reverse.
Maybe it's because, maybe it's because she knows she only has a limited amount of time. If she knows she only has a little bit of time, and she knows that
live it to the fullest kind of thing.
That's my guess.
Maybe.
And I cut you off. I'm sorry.
I could buy that a little bit.
No, I mean she also has Jeremy Renner too, not for the child's whole lifespan, but because we don't. I mean, I don't know. The kid was maybe what 5 or 6 when she in the one flash forward where she's like, "Oh, I told your dad something."
Talking about dad, yeah.
Went away. So you have to assume that like they were together for
some of it.
Yeah, at least some of that. So, I mean, I do think like being in a serious relationship, having a child with someone like,
it can.
Because I don't know that she was like depressed. I don't know that I would call her depressed necessarily.
I guess.
And
I
like
guess the film just kind of they selectively edit and choose to make it look like she's kind of living it's the gray tones, it's the the way you know what I mean, like it's the they're like because they're trying to not give away what actually is happening,
right?
Like
for sure. And we didn't see a ton of her life like before the aliens came. Like it was really just a few snippets,
right,
that didn't include her child, and so. I get why they like had to do it. And again, I don't necessarily think she was depressed. I think she was probably just like bored with her life, like just stuck in the cycle of like, okay, another day, get up, go to work, do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and I got to think too, the little bit that's fair. And the little bit too is like we know she's been overseas to war and worked as a translator with the military. She knows she's responsible for deaths based on communications that she's understood. We know she has a crazy parent who listens to some radical whatever.
Some news channel that shall not be named.
She has subscriptions to every single news broadcast like in the world in every language. And as a result, she's maybe watching that to stay up to date to things. And when you get down those sort of rabbit holes like that, and that's all you have, she drinks a lot of wine. She comes at her job like a scientist with the seriousness of a scientist. And so I buy it for sure. But
Okay.
again, that's just my
Yeah.
perspective.
One thing I will give the film credit for is I do feel like the way the world was reacting to these aliens feels like what would actually happen. Like the process of it all and the way like both their approach and the world and the different countries and like it felt more, you know, I feel like a lot of alien movies are like, you know, Will Smith shooting them in front of the, you know, like it's you know, like these wild things like that actually probably would be not, this to me was like, this is more how life would go should such an event actually happen in real life. You wouldn't have these little green things getting off the, you know, the UFO and going to war with, you know, people with guns. You know what I mean? Like it would be, I mean, not that there wasn't
depends on
some
if
of
they're
the
nefarious.
yeah. But I do feel like the plottingness of it, which to me made it kind of a boring film, does feel like how it would actually go.
Right.
It's like how when people are like, wow, you know, like when COVID was happening, like I didn't know like an apocalyptic, you know, pandemic feeling would be this dumb and boring. And I feel like this was closer than a lot of films in terms of what it feels like it might, if this were to actually happen, how it would play out.
Yeah, but I agree with that. The way that the world powers all reacted and handled it seemed very appropriate. You know, it was kind of nice having the aliens like not be set for our destruction for once.
Yeah.
I maybe I've seen something, but I'm like struggling to think of something right off the bat where aliens came and they didn't want to destroy us.
Mark and Mindy.
Oh, well, I haven't seen that, so
I'm just kidding. That's the Robin Williams TV show from the 70s.
I know.
Okay, just making sure.
I still haven't seen it, so
well,
I wouldn't know.
He's not a bad guy.
Yeah, okay. Well, great. That's great. I believe that. But yeah, there were parts in the middle where it did drag a little bit for me, you know, as they're like, because obviously this is a really long process to teach them, well, I guess to teach them words / us learn their words. You know, that was a pretty tedious process. Ryan Gosling and Rocky did it a lot faster.
I no lie, one of the notes I wrote, I was like, this is what I feared Project Hail Mary was going to be. But, you know, Project Hail Mary had a whole lot more levity to it.
It did. And not every single world superpower trying to understand what these aliens are or anything like that. Ryan Gosling is not a linguist by trade, and there's no written language to Rocky. It's just a lot of echolocation sort of deal. So it's like, I could just stick this machine in your face. Again,
I think Arrival is far more realistic, but I certainly enjoyed Project Hail Mary more. Amaze.
The one time where you don't like the grounded film more.
I know, right? That's fair.
There are exceptions.
I like grounded films when they are like train dreams. I don't like grounded sci-fi.
So I will say I had to look up why the heck they brought a bird with them into the spaceship. I kept waiting for them to explain why the bird was there, at least like on the very first time that Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner went into the spaceship, but they never did. And so I had to look it up.
Is it the canary in a coal mine theory? Where
that the bird would suffer effects of like any like air poisoning or whatever before it affected the humans. But I had never heard of canary in a coal mine, so I was like, can someone explain the bird here? Like, I don't understand. I mean, it was definitely like adding tension and a little bit of creepiness as they were like hearing the sounds of the alien and, you know, having that chirping be in there. Like, it was like definitely building piercing noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was like, but I don't understand why the bird is there.
Right. Which is why it finally clicked in Louise's brain to be like, hey, nothing's going on with the bird, so I'm just going to take my suit off and scare every military person on this site imaginable. Being like, she's disobeying orders. Oh, no.
I'm not military, bitch.
that would have livened up the movie for me.
For sure.
I feel like there were no jokes in this movie. And again, I'm not like but it was very serious.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, speaking of the bird and the sound, I will say I think this movie definitely deserved to win an Oscar for, what'd you say, Geoff? Sound editing?
Won for sound editing. It lost sound mixing to Hacksaw Ridge. And I feel this was before they merged the sound categories. And I feel bad for not knowing the true difference. Like I can't properly explain the difference. But
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I guess mixing must be like how they work in conjunction with each other, as opposed to
that's probably
I don't know, but I can understand why they merged.
Unlike Christopher Nolan's films, where like the music is always super loud and you can't hear any of the words, and you're like, "What are you saying?" Terrible sound mixing. But no, I think the sound in this movie was fantastic. I noted like the sound of the helicopter, like the alarm, a lot of the like music that wasn't really music, but more just like eerie sounds and different things that were going on, even outside of like the sounds that the heptapods made.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really liked. I really noticed. And if I notice the sound in a movie, that's when I know it's good, because otherwise I just usually don't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that about like live theater, like you don't notice sound until something goes wrong. And I feel like with movies, like it is hard to catch it. Like it's hard for me, even as someone who I feel like follows a fair amount of media, to like catch good stuff. That's why I always, bang the drum for Ripley. Like I was like, you could hear every, I loved the sound in that. And then for me to notice that was very unique. But most of the time it's not something I think about.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
It does make sense.
Geoff, where does this fall in your Denis Villeneuve canon?
That is a great question.
Denis Villeneuve.
So
in your Denis, I'm trying to think of a cool expression. I don't have it.
I'll let you think about it while I vamp for a minute. No, I think so. Denis Villeneuve, I probably am not alone when I say this. He's a filmmaker that I have really connected with over the last few years, not just because of the Dune movies, but discovering his work.
Oh, do you like the Dune movies?
You know what? Shockingly, yes.
That's new information.
It's wild. So my first real that's this guy was his legacy sequel to Blade Runner 2049, which I adored. Absolutely loved. I thought the directions that they took with that were so good. Ryan Gosling is amazing in that movie. The movie about sort of your consciousness and your reason for existence and having a purpose, or are you just a robot kind of deal. It's very, very moving and a gorgeous movie to look at. I got to see it in theaters and it was amazing. That was my introduction to him. For American audiences, he's a Canadian filmmaker. He did a few smaller movies up in Montreal at the start of his career, which didn't really take off. But his breakthrough movie was a movie called Incendie, which I believe came out in 2009. Starting then, I don't think he's made a movie worse than maybe a 4 out of 5. It's amazing. And he's done a couple movies with Jake Gyllenhaal. They've stretched, whether they be crime thrillers or psychodramas, action movies, like border crossing war movies, and then fully going in the sci-fi route. I have just really, really connected with his movies, regardless of the scale. He's gonna, after he does Dune Part 3 this year, he'll be the director for the next James Bond movie, which I'm really excited about.
That's right, I keep forgetting about that.
Right. I almost kind of want him to go back to the small scale, like the Incendie, The Enemy, Prisoners, those movies. I think Arrival probably fits. It's high up there. I mean, but actually I say that and I'm like, actually, it might be like maybe 4th or 5th in my rankings for him, behind the Dune movies and Blade Runner and Prisoners, which just says something about what I think about him as a filmmaker. I think his movies are awesome.
So it's going to move down one more spot when the third Dune movie comes out later this year.
I don't know. But I highly recommend a lot.
I just think back to our Oscar podcast where you were like, my should have win is Dune Part 2. My should win is Dune Part 2. My should win is Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
Well, that was the same year you were obsessed with Ripley, right?
On TV, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like both of you had your
That's our thing. Which, and even then, that was a great year. I remember that was a great year for movies, especially towards the top of my list. I remember Nosferatu, The Substance, Civil War, Anora, The Brutalist, and then even smaller movies like Flow all came out that year. It's a good year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my overall Denis Villeneuve perspective.
Yeah. This movie's really pretty.
It is a really pretty movie.
Very pretty.
And y'all liked Amy Adams in this? I mean, Geoff, you said it was a crime she didn't get nominated.
I did very much.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's like, I would say overall, I'm pretty positive on Amy Adams. There's been a few things here and there that I haven't loved her in. The one that comes to mind first is like The Woman in the Window or whatever the heck that movie was called, where she was like a shut-in and thought she saw a murder across the street, whatever. And I'm sure there's been a couple more, but overall I'm pretty positive on her, and I did really I really liked her in this, and I truly am shocked she didn't get an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, so I looked it up. I did look it up. This was the year so this was La La Land. So Emma Stone won Best Actress that year for La La Land. And who was nominated this year? It was, I just had it popped up, Isabelle Huppert for
La La Land also won Best Picture for a short time.
I know, right? Let's see. Emma Stone.
And Faye Dunaway.
Isabelle Huppert for Elle, Ruth Negga for Loving, Natalie Portman for Jackie, and Meryl Streep for Florence Foster Jenkins. I think by the sort of revisionist history, I believe that last one is the one that's like, do we really need to give Meryl Streep another Oscar nomination? But also, this was Amy Adams. This was kind of like the heart of her sort of run at the Academy Awards, where she was nominated for quite a few movies and quite a few roles for movies like, I believe she was nominated for American Hustle. She was nominated for this. She'd done a lot of sort of prestige work. So
but she definitely hasn't won one, right?
She's not won yet.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know what it is, but like as soon as I saw Forrest Whitaker and I was like, oh yeah, like he's never my guy. Like I just don't know what it is about him. And then I was like starting to think more, and I was like, you know what? That's kind of how I feel about Amy Adams. I was like, I don't know what it is. Like, I just don't vibe with her. And I was looking back, and I've not seen her in a ton of things, but I've seen her in some things, properties I've liked too. Charlie Wilson's War, the Muppets. Yep. I've seen her in a few things. I've not seen Dear Evan Hansen. But I don't know. I can't remember what I thought of her in Dear Evan Hansen. I can't remember what I even said about her because that whole film was such a disaster. But so she's maybe one of the better parts of that one. But I don't know. Something about her acting just doesn't like. I'm trying to think. Maybe I just haven't seen her in like something that I really connect with. But
she hasn't been on the greatest run as of late.
But I love her even in The Office, if I'm being honest.
But I think her work in the 2010s is, I think from probably, I did love her brief appearance in Night at the Museum. Doubt The Fighter,
Night at the Museum,
The Muppets, The Master, her American Hustle, Arrival. Yeah, I think she's on a little bit of a cold streak. I do want her to, when she finds that next project though, that's not Hillbilly Elegy and not The Woman in the Window, it'll be all right.
I feel like she could have done If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. And she needs a movie like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't think I would have liked that movie half as much with her because I love Rose Byrne.
Well, yeah, but I think
That type
Amy
of movie you're
Adams
saying?
could have been a fine substitute for Rose Byrne. Obviously, I love Rose Byrne in that too.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that one.
Okay. But she does need that type of movie.
See, I don't think
like
Amy. No, that's fine for acclaim or reason, but I don't think she's funny.
Okay.
And I think you need, at least in Rose Byrne, made that role comedic at times, despite how harrowing it was.
Yeah.
Rose
Fair.
Byrne has Rose Byrne has a self-deprecating way about her.
Yeah. All right. That's fair. I don't know. But yeah, Amy Adams just needs.
It's like, nobody's going to say that nobody could have done that like my girl Rose.
I mean, look, I didn't say she could do it just like her, but in an alternate universe where Rose Byrne doesn't exist. I don't know. She needs some sort of indie movie with a role that she can really sink her teeth into to get her back into the awards conversation.
I think she tried that with Night Bitch.
That's true. That movie, I think, was just too. She was fantastic
Too weird.
in it.
She's amazing in that movie.
You guys liked. Yeah, I remember you guys liked her in that.
Yeah, she was very good. I think it was everything else about the movie that didn't really. I mean, also to be fair, it's one of those movies that they hardly advertised, and then it had such a small release. It was only out for a couple weeks and then just gone. So it's do you really expect people to watch it and vote for it? And as we all know, it's all about your campaign. About whether or not you actually get a nomination. So anyways, you guys, I wrote this really weird note and I have no idea what it means.
I'm excited.
Let's give it a try.
I wrote,
maybe it's the alien language.
maybe you guys could help me figure out what I was talking about. So it's literally the second note I wrote. The first note was
early.
The first note was, haha, is she talking about Fox News? Don't watch that channel. They're idiots.
Oh, when she's talking with her mom.
Yeah, when she's talking to her mom. So my second note that I don't know what I was talking about says, a desire for more cows, question mark? Did he just make it up?
So the translation for war in Sanskrit.
Oh, yeah.
There are multiple translations. I did look this up. Okay. There are multiple meanings of the word for war.
Did I have a stroke for a second?
It's who wanted cows in this movie? I'm so confused. And I left no context for myself.
Yeah, you were writing down about the when
okay, yes. What is the word for war, whatever, in Sanskrit? Was that it?
Yeah. And he was saying that there are multiple words to interpret or to use for war in Sanskrit, at least from what I've looked it up. And that the word gavisti, I believe, is, at least this is how it looks spelled in English, is the word for war. And it could be seen as a multiple thing about a fight between two tribes, but also as a meaning for the trade of cows, essentially. And it's the definition between when you take the word as a whole versus when you take the word in separate parts.
So, okay, so the other linguist did not make it up, but it was just proving that he wasn't as good as she was.
Basically, that he's looking at it from I'm not going into the details. I'm just taking it at sort of at face value. I'm going to dive into details, which plays out throughout the movie because Louise takes this sort of approach like a scientist. She's trying to she's like, okay, here's the theory we have to prove, aka here's the question we need to ask. Here's how we got to get to this point. We need to figure out everything, which again, I loved the approach to how she took this, especially when compared to how it was described, it was done in other countries where it was they took the quote unquote scientific approach, but the competitive approach as well. And you're naturally going into it with a win-loss scenario. Whereas this is hey, can't we all just get along sort of deal? We have the same goals, right? So that's what you were indicating with your note.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, I was really confused. Why I wrote a note about cows. One last thing I just wanted to say is that I really want to know what the heptapods need help with in the future.
So here's my.
Oh,
I have
of course, you have like an explanation
I
for
have a guess. No, I have a guess. I have a thought. 'Cause I was thinking about it. So at the end of the movie, when we see Louise's flash forward, she can only really see herself. She can see herself engaging with the Chinese leadership. She can see herself teaching others languages. She can see her into her personal future. So my guess is that there is a threat coming that none of those aliens know how to figure out. So what they're trying to do is essentially teach, and maybe humans aren't the only persons who are getting taught this, but they're learning this language so that way we can learn it. We can start to have people in our world learn and start to think ahead with this sort of thought process. That way in 3,000 years, when they need help, somebody out there in the universe will figure out what to do by that time, and they'll think ahead and whatever. That's at least my guess. I don't know.
Yes, I got that.
Right.
Like, because she wrote the book, The Universal Language.
Right.
She's teaching people their language. Like, I get that. The heptapods want us to learn their language so that we can, whatever. But we don't know what.
Correct. We don't know what the threat is.
Yeah, so that's all I was saying, was that I wonder what the threat is.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking
I wonder
why.
what the heptapods need help with in 3,000 years. I would like to know.
That I don't know.
I want to know what the threat is.
Have to wait for Arrival 2.
The heptapods return.
Apologies for that part.
No, you're good. You're good. Any final thoughts from either of you?
I have a lot, but I think what ultimately the message of the movie, and I wrote down so many little quotes and lines from this movie, but just ultimately we need to be talking to each other. That's it. We just need to be talking to each other. That was one line, I think, when everyone's trying to shut down.
We're doing it right now.
We're doing it right now. Exactly. We need to be sharing. We need to be talking to each other. And I guess, what would you guys try to look ahead and see in your future if you knew how your life played out from start to finish, if anything? Would you look forward to anything?
I always struggle with that question.
Yeah.
Or like if you knew when you were going to die, would you want to know? You know what I mean? Or like if
right.
I don't know that I'd want to know anything. Maybe little things that I could like make money off of, but not any like major life events. I feel like, I don't know. I struggle with that question.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that I would necessarily want to know anything, but I also don't know what. I mean, obviously there will be big life events in my life, but also like, Geoff and I aren't having kids and we're already married. And so I'm like, all right, well, there's like two big things that like, I don't really have to look into the future to know, like, got it down pat. And yeah, I don't really care to know when people in my life are going to die or when I'm going to die. So
yeah,
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I agree with you both.
Like, there's so many times where I can like, when you're in the midst of a challenging time on something, and then you look back and you can kind of see how it all kind of pieced together and how you got through it. So like, I appreciate that. I don't know. I feel, well, I mean, it's kind of like the butterfly effect. If you knew something was going to happen, would you behave differently? And would it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's like, if I had known how certain challenges in the past were going to end up, would I have made the choices I made, or would I have made choices that wouldn't have allowed it to end up the way it ended up? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. It gets real murky.
It does.
Good thing we can't do it.
Yeah. Until AI really figures it out.
Then we'll just all be dead. So it's fine.
I won't say anything more.
I didn't want to trample on any other. I mean, you said you had a lot of notes, but
I do have a lot of notes, but no, that's okay.
I feel like you defended the movie well. I feel like people who are listening to this podcast and probably hate me on anyway for my takes, and like you, because if they're a cinephile and they're listening to this podcast, they're probably like, Geoff knows what he's talking about. Ben's a dumb dummy. And I feel like they probably sat there, and if they listened through my diatribe for the first little bit of it, they probably were very pleased with your defense of the movie.
This is kind of like a Court of Trill, Geoff. The podcast that we used to listen to would have, they all watched all the new movies, but every once in a while this one guy wouldn't watch a movie because like he had a young kid, you know, all these things, right? And so every once in a while they would do Court of Trill, where each other person on the podcast would have to try to convince him to either see the movie or not see the movie. And then at the end, he would decide if he was going to end up seeing it or not. So we kind of did that with our listeners.
There you go.
Listen to Ben's argument, listen to Geoff's argument.
And I guess it's whoever you relate to more. That's who you're going to trust more. But if you're into movies, I'm sure Geoff is your man.
Yeah. No, but yeah, it's a very specific sort of niche with sci-fi. And obviously, like you talked about, Ben, there are certain themes to this movie that might be they're very, very hard to think about or consume or what have you, just because of what they mean ultimately. But again, this latest viewing really unlocked a lot for me, just in terms of the whole communication angle, especially as I'm trying to find more friendships and what have you. I think it was important. And yeah, just a lot of little things stuck out to me. But again, I don't think they need to be said. I would encourage people to watch it and try to find them on your own. If you are curious about them, feel free to leave us a comment and I'll share my notes.
And I'm never going to watch this again, but I feel like if I did, maybe I would, maybe I would think about it a little bit differently.
Yeah, that's fair. I think this is definitely a movie that benefits from a rewatch.
No.
Whether I will or not is TBD, but maybe in a couple of years. We'll see. All right. Ben, why don't you give us our TV recommendations for this week?
I'll keep it brief because I know we're running a little long here. I will just give you one because there's a lot of sci-fi alien shows and I haven't watched any of them. But the one I will say, not nearly as acclaimed, but I do think has some similarities, is a show called The Event, which aired on NBC for one season from 2010 to 2011. It was one of the many, many like, oh, let's do the next Lost type show that came out. And it was famous for its drip of information. It's like one of the biggest offenders in the TV world of that. But the thing that was funny about that particular show, as opposed to Arrival, where I think some people, including me, were caught off guard, everybody the whole time was like, it's aliens. They're talking about aliens. And that's what The Event is. But they kept like all summer it was like, what's the event? This is not the event. This is not the event. And like their timeline and their storytelling, it's bonkers. It is like a show that goes off the rails within like the first 20 seconds of the pilot. And then what happens at the very end of the season, the 22 episode season, I did watch the whole series. Back then. I don't know. My TV tastes were not as refined back then as they are now, especially with drama. My TV tastes in drama have gotten a lot more refined in the last 15 years. But at the time, I was like, it's kind of pulpy fun kind of stuff. And in the very last episode, so like it's all this, it's like, oh, it involves the president and it involves these individual people and everything's a conspiracy and blah 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 blah. And the last scene of the last episode, there's like this aliens coming down type thing. And there's the president who we've known all season, the president's wife. And I'm paraphrasing. I might not get this exactly right, but the very last clip of the whole episode of the whole series, which was supposed to be an ongoing series, but got canceled after 1 year, is this daughter of the president is talking to her mom. And she's like, what is that? And the mom's like, it's home. Because the mom's an alien. And I was like, so
wow,
I feel like it's a little degrading of this Oscar-nominated film to compare it to The Event, but it compares because of A, aliens, and B, the drip of information. Now, that being said, I understand Arrival is a very acclaimed film. This was not a very acclaimed TV show. I'm not trying to conflate the two in that way, but it's the first thing I thought of, and it's also one of the only alien shows I've ever watched, so I don't have a lot to go on. I wasn't going to recommend Mork and Mindy. Yeah.
Actually, I thought that's what you were going to say. After we had already talked about it.
He is a nice alien, so there's that.
All right, Geoff, what are your movie recommendations?
Awesome. So I'll start with a Denis Villeneuve movie. I would just say anything really in his filmography I can recommend, but I think if we want to go this route initially, I was going to go the sci-fi route, and I was like, you know what? Actually, let's change it up here a little bit. So I am going to recommend, man, it is tough, but I am going to recommend his breakthrough movie, which I think plays around with the angles of time, telling stories with like the past and the present. Obviously, with this case, with this movie, it was the present and the future, but in this case, it's the past and the present. Unsendi, which is a story about a mother's last wishes to send her twin children on a journey to basically discover who their father is and uncover their past. And the things that happen in this movie are genuinely jaw-dropping, and how it plays out and what you find out by the end of the movie. Like, it is amazing, amazing stuff. So he's been on a heater for the last 15 years. The second movie is where aliens come in peace and the world freaks out. E.T. Just, this is a Steven Spielberg week and everything. Go watch E.T. again, everybody. Think aliens come in peace, but the world freaks out. Third category, heady sci-fi. I'm going to go with Annihilation. This came out in 2018, directed by Alex Garland. And yeah, aliens kind of take over, and Natalie Portman and a team of scientists need to figure out what the deal is. It's a mind mess of a movie. Like, it really is trippy and freaky, and it still leaves me thinking about a lot of different things when I watch it. I've seen it now a few times, and I don't even have my brain quite wrapped around everything with it. And then number 4 is, again, a movie from the 2020s, like I try to recommend, and it's the most recent one that I'll ever recommend with this. Project Hail Mary. You know what? Go see it in theaters if it's still out by the time this episode airs. If it's not, go rent it. Go wait for it to stream on Prime Video. The importance of communicating with aliens and the magic and wonders that can happen when borders are removed from the linguistics perspective, and you can come to find some amazing conclusions together. So, yeah, those are my recs. Fist my bump.
Fist my bump. Amaze. All right, let's quickly do our top 4. So just to remind you of the fantastic thing we're doing this week, it is giant things that we would be terrified to see coming out of the sky, a la the spaceships that descended upon Earth in Arrival. Ben, you will go first today.
All right. I do not have any honorable mentions. I'm just going to jump right in.
Love it.
Number 4, in honor of my all-time favorite musical, There Are Giants in the Sky. We talked about giant things in the sky. How about a giant?
There you go.
My favorite is when, on the original Broadway recording of Into the Woods, which is the seminal version that, so many of us grew up with, and Bernadette Peters yelling, "The giant's a woman."
So good.
Love it. Yeah, I think that would be pretty terrifying. Number 3 is kind of broadly speaking, but I was just like, what would be like weird or gross? And I was like, a giant human body part. And, you can pick your human body part, but like, it could be something really gross, or it could be like a nose, like a giant nose in the sky.
That would be terrifying.
That's horrifying.
It'd be terrifying. And take body part of your choice. That's number 3. Number 2 is more like something that would make the okay. So I get claustrophobic easily. Like, I hate being in rooms that have low ceilings. And so I think something that would, I don't care what it is, but something that would make the sky feel low to me.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I don't care. It could be like a chest or a wall or something, but like whatever it is, it's like makes you feel like, you don't have a lot of room between you and the top of the sky, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think would be very tough, because I don't like that just in life. And number 1, again, kind of a broad category, but would freak me the heck out, would be giant bugs. I was trying to think like snakes or what, things I don't like, but I just feel like something about bugs, they're so small and they irritate me so much as a tiny little thing. Like a giant one, take your pick. Like a giant centipede probably be like the absolute worst. Or like a giant hornet, or like a giant stink bug, like just something like that. Like those are just like the worst possible thoughts for me.
Yeah.
As far as something giant in the sky. So there you go. Giants, human body parts, something claustrophobic, and bugs.
Good list. All right, Geoff.
So mine, I was a little less abstract with it. I
That's fair.
I unfortunately kind of went a more realistic route, sadly, but no honorable mentions here. My
You
number
don't see
4.
giant noses in the sky.
No, I'm just like, it's 2026, whatever. Things are happening. So my number 4 is the bat signal, just a giant bat signal, because that's when you know, guess what? Things are going wrong and Batman is needed. And when Batman is needed, that's when you know you got a supervillain on the loose. And I don't want to know that. Like, let me live oblivious in peace and whatever. You know what happens when you get too wired in on social media? There you go. So yeah, if I saw the bat signal out, like a giant bat signal in the sky, don't like that. Number 3 is the giant sun from the Teletubbies.
How is this more
That's really
realistic?
good.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. That's just like, I don't want a human face popping up in my sun.
That's a great answer.
That's scary. That's a scary thought. That's nightmare fuel. No more need to be said. Number 2, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the idea of the kaiju.
I've heard the term.
I know I've
but
heard
can't-
of it. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my
You
head.
probably know, probably the most famous one is a little creature called Godzilla. Well,
yeah.
there's another creature in that universe, and it's very related to Ben's number 1. It's called Mothra. So yes, giant bugs in the sky, specifically Mothra. And also, yeah, giant hornet, giant whatever, Ben, because that you took that to the next level there, and I really, really appreciate it. Because I specifically was like,
gave some nightmare fuel.
Even like Godzilla or like the new movies that have come out, what have you, that have featured Mothra, I'm still like, ugh, that's freaky. And those who don't know, I have a big phobia of moths, butterflies, winged insects, anything like that. I'm like, I don't deal with these. They just look freaky to me and they scare me. So everything around those, I'm like, So Mothra's number 2, and then number 1 is a meteor / asteroid. Because guess what? If it's big and in the sky, we're getting a repeat of the dinosaurs, man. It's crashing into Earth, and we're all dead. So yeah, I don't want to look up and see a meteor a mile or 2 away from me in the sky, because that means it's crashing into Earth. We're getting a don't look up situation. We're getting the dinosaurs. Not great. So no good. So that's my list.
I think what we're learning here is giant things in the sky generally not good.
Generally not good. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Yeah.
I wish I thought of the Teletubby son.
I don't know why that thought of it, because I never watched the Teletubbies growing up either. So I don't know. I was trying to think of something crazy. I think the reason why I thought that was because I was thinking of the sun, because of the theory of like the star expanding and then it'll explode into a supernova when it gets to a point. And obviously this will be in like millions and millions and millions, potentially billions of years. But eventually there will be a time when the Earth just, in theory, from like a science perspective, potentially just gets sucked up into the sun. But this, like, oh yeah, if the sun is super close, I'm like, oh well, guess what, we're gonna melt by this point. But like, you know what, let's change that perspective, because I've already had meteor on the list. So
perfect. So my list is kind of a mixture of both of your guys' lists.
I love it.
So number 4, I was kind of channeling Harry Potter here, but I'm gonna go with giant like skulls in the sky. Like I don't know what that would mean, but it can't mean anything good.
It can't be a good day.
It cannot be. I don't know if it means that like Lord Voldemort's back or what, but like I don't want to see a giant skull in the sky.
Yeah.
Number 3, very similar. I specifically picked spiders. I agree with you. I think all bugs would be horrifying. But again, I was channeling Harry Potter here a little bit with the giant arachnids. And I'm just like, yeah, I really don't want to see giant spiders like parachuting onto me from the sky.
Amanda's been too scarred by It's Tough to Be a Bug at Animal Kingdom.
It's not there.
Yeah, that too. That too. That's a nightmare fuel. My number 2, similar to your meteors, Geoff, is just fire. Like I really don't want to see giant fire coming out from the sky either. Because again, that probably means that like we're dead. We're for sure dead. And then my number 1 is a little bit of a cheat. It's not necessarily something coming out of the sky, but just complete darkness. Yeah, just like the sun going away. Again, we're dead. Like if the whole world just went into complete darkness right now, well, right now it is dark, but if it was the middle of the day and it
Not
just all of a
complete
sudden went
darkness.
dark, then
It
that
goes
would be terrifying.
it goes hand in hand with Ben's the world just feeling small and us feeling like trapped or whatever. It kind of adds on to that as well. Just like I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. And that is
Good
my
lists all
list.
around.
Scary. So by comparison, listen to this. I guess the aliens in this movie, it's like whatever. They don't need it. Like in this, I laughed when they said they shut down the state of Montana. I'm like, I guess like whatever. This is just fine. Like okay, sure. Aliens, it's fine. We're cool,
I can't imagine Montana shutting down. They'd be like, we got wide open spaces. We're fine.
right?
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our Arrival episode. If you would like to watch along with us, next week we will be taking a little bit of a turn, going into the rom-com lane and watching Crazy Stupid Love. So be sure to watch along or at least tune in and hear us talk about it. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a rating or review and be sure to follow us on all our social channels. Thank you so much for listening and we'll see you all next week.
To infinity and beyond!
Why so serious?
I am serious. And don't call me Shook.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.